Before we start, this video doesn't include any manga spoilers, because, believe it or not, the secret behind Sukuna's curse technique is yet to be revealed. But the 16th episode of Season 2 revealed something interesting that wasn't shown even in the manga. So without further ado, let's begin. My theory begins with one single scene, which is this.
Fuga. それは炎か。宿儺の術式は切断や斬撃では。
そうか。知られているものと思っていたが、そもそも呪霊知らぬはずだ。心配せずとも術式の開示などこすい真似はせん。
It may seem like a short scene, but there's actually a lot to unpack here. First, let's talk about the word fuga, which Sukuna used to call upon the fire technique. This word is actually a reference by Gege Akutami, taken from a one-shot he has written himself in 2015 called N9, before starting Jujutsu Kaisen in 2018. Both works share a somewhat similar genre with a supernatural element to them, represented in ghosts or spirits, only seen by a few privileged individuals. In this one-shot, the main character, Tsukumo Hiromasa, has the ability to summon invisible boxes and direct them by flicking his fingers, similar to how Sukuna attacks. Furthermore, he used the word fuga to open the boxes and pull up a bunch of weapons to attack, just like what Sukuna in the scene earlier. Now, do I think Sukuna has a bunch of invisible boxes to store weapons? The answer is no, but it's close. Let's continue. Now, for the second part of the scene, Jogo was stunned to how can Sukuna handle fire if his known technique is the slashing attacks, cleave, and dismantle. Sukuna said that he will not reveal his actual curse technique, and the reason behind that is because he's too prideful. If you don't know, there's this thing called a binding vow, where a sorcerer reveals his curse technique to the enemy, which gives them the advantage, but in return this CT will gain an overall boost to compensate. But the most mysterious part was this phrase from Sukuna. I thought you knew about this, but I suppose cursed spirits wouldn't know. The question that popped into my head was what makes the difference between a cursed spirit and a sorcerer, or humans in general. And the answer I found was always present in the series, which was the soul. But there's still one problem within my theory here, and that problem is called Mahito. How does Mahito have a soul if he's not a human? And the answer is found in the same scene. Mahito is the exception within the cursed spirits. He only has a soul because he's born from humans and shares the same characteristics as them. He's also the only cursed spirit that is shown to be capable of changing forms, unlike the other cursed spirits that exist only as a curse womb or a complete form. Mahito's role doesn't end here in this theory, because one of the questions I always asked myself was this: which one between the two is Yuji Itadori's real rival, his arch-enemy, his nemesis, so to speak? Is it Sukuna or Mahito? And I know what people would say, but the answer to this question is very simple. It's actually both of them. If Mahito represents the worst side of humanity, then who's the worst human we've met in the series? That's none other than Sukuna. This finally brings me to the human Sukuna and his body. There's actually two possibilities I can think of within the story that can change a human body from his original shape. It's either A, Sukuna was born with a heavenly restriction that deformed his body and made him look like this. There's this misconception that a heavenly restriction comes in only one form, that being to enhance the body and limit the curse energy, just like Toji and Maki. But there's other forms of heavenly restriction, similar to Mekamaru's case. Or the other possibility B, it is due to his soul being modified and therefore his body with it. Whether it's possibility A or B, I think that they result in the same thing. Sukuna has the ability to store more than one soul. Maybe they are his own. Or he stole them from his peers 1,000 years ago and every soul comes with its own technique. But I don't think he can use them freely. There must be some kind of binding vow to use them, and that's why he relies only on the slashing attacks most of the time. This fits perfectly with the recurring theme of the soul and body within the series. To further illustrate my point, there have been cases like Tengen and Mr. Brain here, living for a long time by transferring their souls from one body to another. But there was never a case where someone fragmented his soul to multiple body parts and survived. Another point is how Sukuna seems to gain more techniques the more fingers he gains, which is why he didn't use any slashing and fire arrows when he was facing Gojo in the first episode of Season 1. Personally, I lean to the possibility of Sukuna being born with a heavenly restriction, since, and this is a tiny manga spoiler, Sukuna has stated that he was always unwanted. This theory is somewhat incomplete, but I think that there's no way Sukuna isn't related somehow to this soul theme. This is where my theory ends. Feel free to comment your thoughts and subscribe for more content like this. And yeah, that's about it.